Inputs are used in Python to allow the user to input a piece of data which a program can act upon, check it to other variables or constants using relational operators. They can edit it, make it different, such as changing 4 into 2 and 2 into 1 using a simplifying agent or something like that. Inputs are also pretty good for comparing. So you could use the input of 17, right? Take 17, put it in an if statement. So if 17 greater than 0, print input is positive number. Else, print input is 0 or negative number. It can be quite simple like that. You can set the input as constants if you want them to be used multiple times throughout the code, such as enter your name and have the name done like 20 times in the code. That would be a constant input. If you want it to be changed, like enter a number to be simplified by, or enter a number to simplify, it would then, simplify that number, but it would change it. So you put the input in, 4, you simplify it down to 1, we would change it, so you'd want a variable input. When making an input in Python, the input will always try and become a string, no matter what you input. You could input 7, 17, 0.1. It will always become a string unless specifically specified. And so, it would make it a string for 0.1, or leave one as well. You would need to specify float for 0.1, int for integers on 7, 17, all the integers. You can do this by having int bracket input bracket and the message you want to be displayed, and obviously ending the brackets for it directly making it a string, which is usually useless because you don't need strings of things that are already strings. But if you do want to do that, is str bracket input bracket statement you want to be displayed, ending brackets. For float, it is float bracket input bracket statement you want to be displayed, ending brackets. There are other ones, such as list, which transfers every single character inside the input into a section of a list if specified to do so. Bool, which just takes what it is, and it's easy if it's a boolean, and if it is, does it. So you can put and, or, in, if, capital T, and then finishing off true, capital F, finishing off false, or the booleans. You'd usually not do that unless the person who you're giving that to is a coder, though, because most people don't know how to do booleans unless you code. Most people also don't know how the lists fully work, so they wouldn't try and do that. We need these specified inputs because without an integer for your input, you can't do certain calculations, timesing, getting simplified, all those calculations that require a number. Because the computer doesn't see it as a number. The computer sees it as a word. How we would see water bottle is how the computer sees it. It just sees it as a completely different thing. So it doesn't try and just gives us an error. Syntax error, logical error, an error of some kind. For other reasons why you'd want these specified things is that you can concatenate properly. I'll touch upon that later. But you need them specifically specified. Unfortunately, the computer is not smart enough to register what thing you are putting in. So if you specify the thing to be an integer, specify the input to be an integer, you can't then put yellow. It will just give you an error because you're not doing it properly. And so you need whole numbers. If I put number equals int input enter your number, you can't put the word 1. You've got to put the number 1. Because if you disobey the rules of that boolean, well, not boolean, input, then it will just give you an error. Same with float. With string goes above all, so you can put any of the other data values in string, because string doesn't actually care about what's being inputted. It just takes what's inputted, puts 2 speech marks around it, sends it off. Makes it proper like that. Overall, inputs are used to allow users to run out of the code without directly editing it in the actual coding section. You want to explain to the user, follow the rules, don't input something stupid. You want to make sure that your inputs are the right kind of inputs for the task you're assigning to them. Thank you for watching. I do hope you learned something. Have a good rest of your day.